There's something uniquely special about fantasy murder mysteries for me. It's that you get a very creative way to murder someone. Don't do it in real life, please. And you also get a creative way to solve that murder, and that is what we find in The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. And I want to talk about it and give a non-spoiler review for you guys. So cozy up, grab some tea or coffee, put on something comfy, and let's dive in. The story is told from the perspective of Denius Cole, who is a assistant investigator and an engraver, meaning that he has perfect memory recall and he can store his memories in vials. And he's called upon a mysterious, strange scene where an imperial officer in a mansion has died, apparently from spontaneously sprouting a tree from his body. And this is bizarre. And as Denios Cole begins to investigate, he begins to suspect it's a murder. And as more people die in the same manner, he thinks a larger conspiracy may be afoot. And I've mentioned this before, but I am a total sucker for plant body horror, so it reminded me kind of like of Hannibal, where the murders are beautifully grotesque, and I'm talking purely in a fictional manner. And also in this world, it's super cool. Plants have been bioengineered to help people in various ways, so like they can be bioluminescent and be used as a light source, or they can be used as air purifiers. And I think that's a neat little touch, and you can especially see luminescent botanical vibes from the UK edition. I really also loved the magical body modification and body horror in this book. I typically see that within sci-fi, like the body modification aspects, like in Crimes of the Future. But in this world, people like can get magical grafts to like heighten their senses or make them super strong, or they can get magical infusions like what Denius Cole did so that he can have a perfect memory. Yeah, this book crossed off so many boxes for me. It also had cosmic horror, which makes me pog. Like, there are creatures called leviathans. Sometimes they're referred to as titans, and every time I saw that, I giggled a little because it reminded me of Attack on Titan. But every wet season, the tides rise, and the leviathans wake from their slumber and go on a rampage, and it takes like 3 layers of fortified walls to hold them back. And of course, like, the outermost wall is the most vulnerable to attacks, and the poorest people live there. So there's like this interesting subplot backstory going on, and I'm really interested to see how that unfolds throughout the series, because this is the first in a series. Overall, the world building was fascinating and fantastic. I think the one part of the book I didn't like was the character of Anna, who is the head investigator who Denius Cole reports to. And she, I believe, is supposed to be inspired by Stephen Moffat's Sherlock, only she comes across as one-dimensional and a parody, and her language, I think she's supposed to stand out and be eccentric, but it's ultra modern compared to the rest of the characters' more formal, antiquated way of speaking, and her profanity and swearing doesn't make sense within the context of the world. For instance, she uses goddamn, even though in this world there are multiple gods, so something like God's Forsaken would have been more fitting, in my opinion. And yeah, I hope as the series progresses, she gets more nuance and backstory. Thankfully, at least she is not the main character, and we spend more time focusing on Denios. Overall, though, this was such a unique and fun murder mystery. It had a little bit of everything. It has cosmic horror, body horror, bland horror, political intrigue, and what more could you want? And before I wrap things up completely, I do also want to give some recommendations for some more fantasy murder mysteries that I definitely recommend checking out too. The first one is such an underrated series, and that is The Helm of Midnight, and it's about a mask that's possessed by a serial killer named Louis Charbon. And Charbon's mask goes mysteriously missing, and then there's a series of murders where the victims are assembled into flower shapes that exactly matches his calling card, his signature. And an investigator is desperate to try and track down the copycat killer before it's too late. And yeah, the world building is also really interesting in this one. There's an emotional based magic system where magic users can manipulate people's emotions so they can make them angry or sad or rile up a crowd. And this is just a really fantastic one too. And last but not least, I also really recommend The Bone Orchard, which is about a necromancer concubine who is tasked by her dying emperor to try to find his murderer. And this world is like Frankensteinian and steampunky, and it's just a really creative, unique read. Alright, now that's a wrap, and if you've read The Tainted Cup or any of the other books I mentioned, let me know your thoughts about them down below. And also, if you have any more recommendations for genre-bending murder mysteries, I'm always on the lookout for more of those, so give me your recommendations down below. As always, thank you for watching, and take care everyone. See ya!